this is apparently Deku. I just skipped off of him. But, yeah, in Blood Labs there's a dude named Deku. I never noticed that. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. But, in this one, Deku will be... I guess this is the only way I could fit in the powers of Chad's into my hero. Because if I make a whole, or like a family of higher ups that have vampire blood with all this magic crap, it'll be off-putting. So, in this one, I guess Deku would not be full vampire, but I'll just call it if he was a vampire from Blood Labs. But this one, his heritage would be a wizard or witch family, which would be his mother, who possesses close range, long range, and middle range magic. All three types, I guess you could say. And his father would be a vampire from the blood family. And all that. So, how Deku would come to be in these higher noble-like families would be a trading between both of them from a long sort of battle and arguments between each other for years. It would be settled with the two leaders of the clans, the mistress son of the vampires, and the wizard or warlock of the wizard clan daughter. So they would get married, long, short, little. Eventually, Deku would be born, known as the pride of both families, since his magic is of a noble, warlock, or wizard, and his strength and speed is from a noble vampire. So, how he's raised is he's raised to think that he's better than everybody, but Deku doesn't care about that. And most of the time, Deku will just leave the families and go somewhere else half the time. But as he's like 4 years old, but after 3 more years of doing this, Deku's mother and father will get permission to go live by themselves and all that. And since they are sort of a noble court family, they would probably have a lot of money and all that, so they would live in a higher up neighborhood and all that. But whenever Deku gets to go to school at age 7, so probably like 3rd grade or 2nd grade, something like that, he would go there, but it would be in a higher neighborhood. So instead of meeting Toga, or not Toga, but Todoroki and, Momo, I did hear some stuff about Monoma and Toga may be a higher up family. Something like that. I heard something like that for some reason. But, so, I'm just gonna take that theory, or like, I guess it's not a theory, it's like a hunch, since how their families act and how Monoma acts towards people and what he wears for his costume. So, yeah. I'll just take it. So, on the first day of class, where Deku walks in, he would introduce himself as Deku or Izuku Chaz Blood. Since he takes his father's last name, which is Blood. And people would know that as the vampire family. Which he would show his fangs. Hey there, Daddy. Kitty. That poor thing. That's the old Johnny boy. Johnny has a gun. poor thing. But you got into many fights. That's why your head's all injured. But yeah, whatever. Bye-bye. Go get inside and get some food. You've been out here too long. But he would have said this, and people know him as the noble vampire family, of course, which they automatically assume me as a vampire quirk, which his family does. They can drink blood to like help them increase their power for a moment and all that, but they don't do that much often, unless if their families and or one of their members are in life endangered of their life about to die, then they'll do it, where they can regenerate faster, is what blood does to them. So they'll walk in and they automatically assume that that's his power. So people ask what his quirk is, and he would sit down and he would have a normal day till, I'll say, it's lunch. And this is when Ramonima would come up to Deku and would say, "Do you think you're better than us?" and all that. Start acting rude and go to touch Deku, which once he touches Deku, he would gain his quirk of vampirific and magic, and Monoma would stick out his hands, which I would say at this age he can only copy 2 quirks, which what would happen whenever he touches Deku. And he would stick out his hand, he would go to punch Deku, which Deku would have put out his hand and would have clenched it for a moment, and Monoma would drop to the floor. Whenever this happens, people would see as Deku would continue to close his hand a little more, which Monoma would instead of be on his knees, would be completely laid out. And he would have said this to Monoma, saying that either give up or I'll crush your heart. With them looking up to him, saying, "How could you do that? Vampires don't have that power." Deku would stand up, saying that my father is part of the Bloods family, and my mother's part of the Midoriya family, I'll just call them, saying that I have 2 strong quirks, so you better back down or something like that, and don't try that again. He would open his hands and he would leave the lunchroom. This is when people would learn that he is not just a vampire, he's also a wizard, which that's super impressive since those were the 2 really strong quirk families, which there's not many quirk families, but there is some. This is whenever Toga would see a glimpse of Deku leave after almost crushing a dude's heart. So she would go up behind him while he's walking out, following him, and he would know that she's there, so he would walk around and walk into a hallway with no people, and he'd turn around asking why she's following him. She would pop out the corner saying that, "I just want to see if something would happen," going up to him, and she would take out, I guess, like a small X-Acto blade or something like that, and would cut down on him, on his arm, which would make Deku go ahead and go to try to grab her and throw her, but she would lift the blade, and he would see her transform into him. And so, whenever this happens, Deku would stop in his tracks since he's confused, and she would say in his voice, saying, "My quirk is I'm able to transform to anybody that I drink the blood of, or eat it if it's solubilized blood, I guess. I don't know." And yeah, he'd say very interesting, and would ask another question saying, "Can you copy quirks like that if you copy their body, like if it's a mutant quirk?" And she would say, "I really don't know. I never thought of copying somebody's quirk. Maybe I can. Maybe my quirk's not just for transformations." So, on this day forward, for a couple years, or actually not a couple years, but they would kind of become friends, with Toga acting all weird and stuff, and all that, which she would eventually get court counseling, what Deki hears from her, and saying that she won't be able to talk to you much anymore. And this is whenever Deku would go, I would say, after Monoma goes up to him and tries to mess with him again, Deku would have looked at him with like a sinister smile, and would have grabbed him and sticked his fangs into him, drinking his blood, and all that, which this would set off some people, and Deku would have to get court counseling too, where, quote-unquote, he doesn't get cravings to drink blood, which he does still get it, but not as much, since he does get blood at his family, of course, but it gets worse whenever he sees blood. So yeah. Hello. Sorry about that. Somebody pulled up at our house for some reason. People do that all the time. But yeah, so this would happen, and this will be the end of this part. I actually think I like this one. I'm not completely sure. I might ask you guys a question, maybe. I'm not completely sure, man. But I think I'm gonna stick to this storyline.